Hello everyone. Everyone can hear me? Can you raise your hand if you can hear me properly? Thank you very much. Right now, I'll welcome you with an interesting fact. Did you know that you can speak at around 170 words per minute while your typing abilities...
Hello?
Hi Dylan, how's it going?
It's going fine. How about you?
Hey, I just could use some help for this whole transcription thing because, yeah, you did dictation feature, so could you please come on stage and help me present it?
Yeah, sure. Coming right off.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dylan. Quick demo before we jump into actual dictation.
Yep.
We just took a phone call, and with new set of transcription features, you can now open your phone app, open your phone call, and you can see both full transcript as well as the summary. So you can quickly skim on the phone list view for where's your actual call, and you can click on it to see the details. Now let's go back to our presentation as we are finally complete.
Yeah. So, transcribe your meetings in no time. Now, within version 19 of Odoo, you can transcribe whatever you need, so meetings, voice calls, or even videos, directly within Odoo and within any HTML field. And all of that is done in real time. As you can see on screen right now is the new transcription component, which can be used in any HTML field. And you can see a snippet of how it looks like with the timestamps and all the transcription features of the agent. Then you can, with this component, you can take a bunch of notes that will be used directly as a context for the transcription. This is mainly useful for the transcript to be able to grasp if you have specific concepts for, let's say, a meeting, a very technical meeting, so that the transcription understands what your context is about and can do proper transcripts. Then when you're finished speaking, the app automatically takes the whole transcripts of the recording and makes a summary that you can see here. This summary can be modified with the editor itself, or you can also click one of the quick action buttons that will be used to replace the current summary and update it accordingly. And lastly, you will also have the possibility to directly share the summary of your meeting through the mail composer within Odoo. And this will be also visible in the chatter, but we'll see later. Next up, this component can be used in any HTML field and can be used in collaboration with your colleagues. If you have a meeting, everyone can, as you speak, make some modifications to the text, update it and add notes, etc. This component comes with multiple languages. As soon as if you have a need for multiple languages, just install all the languages that you need on your database, and they will be available for the recording here in the component. This is important because if you want to record in a specific setting, using the language, specifying the language, will help the transcription to be more accurate. It's not mandatory, but it will help it to be more accurate. And finally, it can be, as I said earlier, it can be used anywhere in any HTML field, so that if you want to have it, for example, in a calendar event that is tied to a meeting, you can have it there, you can have it in a knowledge article, etc. Now, pseudo versus real. During the implementation of this component, it went through two phases, the pseudo real-time and the real real-time. The pseudo real-time, I call it that way because at first we were using the standard endpoint for OpenAI APIs for making the transcription. This pseudo real-time was sending directly through the Odoo database, then to OpenAI, and then back to the UI of the component, and all that in pseudo real-time fashion. It means that it wasn't really a real-time, we were just simulating it with code behavior. So this pseudo real-time has three main steps. The first one is the chunking. The chunking is a procedure where we will analyze the audio, restrict it to a certain frequency to just remove surrounding noise and keep only the human voice range to avoid parasitic noise in the transcription. And we will also perform some activity detection to know when to cut a sentence so that it's not cut in the middle and you don't have a weird transcription. And so that was the chunking part. But at the same time, to make it look like it's more real time, we were periodically sending bigger and bigger chunks so that the AI can replace the transcription to have a kind of in progress effect of the transcription that is that you can see on the components. These chunks are, as I said, sent to OpenAI for transcription, and when coming back, we have to process these chunks, which will depend on what types of information we receive. It's either we receive a in-progress transcript and then it's just updating the current chunk, or if we have a committed chunk, which is the last thing you receive from this thing, then it's committed with the last bit. And so for the chunking, here is what it used to look like. So you would have you're speaking, and then up you will have a bit of the transcription that is available, and then up another bit, and then finally when you stop speaking you have the full sentence just like this. So this was done like using the voice activity detection and the in progress chunking. Then this transcription is sent to the AI, which was then Whisper 1 model that only accepts valid audio files, and it was a limitation because the browser APIs for recording are then cannot really have specific chunks, and also we had to keep bigger and bigger chunks to have a valid file to send them. And finally, another issue we had with the pseudo real-time implementation was the processing of the data, because we are not guaranteed, like for 3 chunks that we send, that we will receive the transcription of these chunks in the correct order. So we could receive, for example, transcription 2 before transcription 1, and then it's a problem because it would cause some random issues in the UI that would make the transcription not like having weird glitches. And to solve these issues, so here, and so the solution that we brought for that was to have some kind of committing, because if you receive 2 before 1, you want the information of 1 to be cancelled because it's not relevant anymore. And that's one of the reasons why we decided to go to the second model, which is the real-time implementation, during which instead of cutting ourselves the audio and analyzing, we in real time send the information, and all the time. And so the main difference with this implementation compared to the other is that now we don't have, like, the actual communication for the transcription doesn't have to go through the Odoo database anymore. It directly goes to OpenAI. So the only thing that goes to the Odoo database is the authentication. So first we have to establish the session so that it can be, we have to retrieve the credentials of the session so that it can be established with OpenAI directly. And that's why we have to go to the Odoo database first. So this real-time has also 3 steps. The first one is, as I said, just the connection, where we will ask OpenAI to create us a session with some ephemeral tokens, so that we don't have to store our tokens on the front end, which would be a bit of a security breach. And once the session is, and then we establish the session on the client using the WebSocket in real time. Then we do some similar processing than the previous implementation, which is we still filter out the audio, and then, but as extra, we will process it so that it's compliant with the APIs of OpenAI, of course. And the last part is that we will let them handle the cutoff of the sentences, so we remove all that complexity in all place. And the last part is that we have now an event-based system, where we will receive some events from the WebSocket connection that will be used to determine how we're displaying information in real time inside of the component. So here, the major components. The first one is the VAD audio recorder, which is one of the main components that will manage the WebSocket connection and perform the audio filtering. So here what you see on screen is how we configure the session, the information that we send to OpenAI first to establish the session, which is contains, first of all, the expiry of your token, because you will create an ephemeral token to replace the actual OpenAI token. So you will decide when this token is going to expire in seconds. And the second part is the session information that will communicate to OpenAI what types of session that we want. First of all, like by specifying the language, the model that we use, as well as the some pre-prompt that we could send that would help the model understand what we are saying. Then we have the turn detection, which is just used to say, okay, now cut off every when a silence has a duration of more than 500 milliseconds. And the last part is we also ask OpenAI to do some noise reduction on their side to ensure that the transcript has no parasitic noise that would hurt the quality of the transcription. And then the second part, here you can see a bunch of function call that will do the analysis of the audio, and especially here it's for filtering on our side. The second component is also an important component, is the PCM16 audio processor, and is like here you have a snippet of this component that will make the audio compliant with the API of OpenAI, and will do some other things such as buffering to avoid sending too many information at once to OpenAI. It will also convert the microphone from stereo channels to a mono channel that is only the one that can be understood by the model. And then it will transform the data type of the raw audio that we receive to a format compliant with the API. And lastly, the UI facing component, the voice transcription component, is the one that will manage like the rendering. It will manage the audio recorder and its states, and it will take care of using the composer and performing the summary of the transcription. Here on screen you can see a bunch of code that is related to the management of states, which are the events that you can receive on the WebSocket, but also it can be the VAD audio recorder states that are inside of these events. And so you have 4 types of events. The first one is the first type of event is the listening event, which is the one that is enabled by default when you start the component, and that will be used when you don't have any other types of events. The second one is the delta, which is used when you stop speaking. Then you have the word-by-word completion. These are received by delta events. Then you have the completed event for the whole sentence chunk. And finally, when you stop the recording, the stop event, which is the last one that you receive for the voice transcription. So now, like in conclusion, for these components, with the pseudo real-time, we had a more reactive in a sense, because the main drawback of the real-time is that you really have to stop speaking to see the completion happening. While with the pseudo real-time, you would see some form of completion, but these updates were like way heavier to process with complicated asynchronous management, as we saw. And also, since we wanted to have only stopping at when silences happen, it's often happened so that when you had a lot of people speaking at the same time, you never detected silences, and so you had ever-growing chunks that would cause some latency within the transcription. And so now with the real-time, we have no more disconnection or latency problems. The events are based on the one that we receive from OpenAI directly, and we have little to less asynchronous issues, since like we always receive events in order from the API. However, it's a bit less reactive, and the session management itself is a bit more complex, since we have to first establish the connection, and then we can start doing the transcription. And so here we will see the model in action. So here you can see that from the starting of this, I've been recording the audio with the transcription component. And so if now I were to stop speaking, I were to stop the recording, you would see that automatically the component will process the whole transcript and create some summary of what I've been said since the beginning. It can take a bit of time since the transcription. So here you have a little glitch because the formatting is off, but you can still see that it did properly the summary of this transcription. And so if, for example, you were to want to change the summary, you could click, for example, like write an email recap of this meeting, and then it will start again the processing feature, can take a bit of time, and then replace the whole content of the summary once it has finished its completion. And then you have it replaces everything. And last, you also, as I showed, can share this to your followers, for example, or just to demo, for example. Oh, you don't have demo. Oh, to administrator, for example. Poop. Administrator, up. Oh, you don't have email. Well,
yes, you can basically send it to yourself.
Yeah. You can send it to... or you can just send it if you don't want to specify someone. And then the whole thing will be available directly in the chatter here, so that you can later see it from the record. And if you want to configure any of these buttons, it's also possible from the AI app. Here, in the configuration settings, in the default prompts, up, you would have a summarized voice transcription, and here you can see all the actions that were available, and you could change them, restrict them to something else, etc. So now back to the presentation. It's all for me. I will let Andrzej continue on the VoIP calls.
Thank you very much. I think the coolest part about the dictation feature is that you can use it anywhere across Odoo. So whatever notes you have, whatever field that is an HTML field, you can just fire up your dictation in there, and there you go. Now, coming a little bit down to earth from the very fancy feature as the presenting dictation, yeah, let's come down to VoIP calls. So, quick reminder, I don't know if you attended some kind of explanation of how VoIP calls work in Odoo right now. So quick reminder, functionally, what you saw in the beginning was basically how you have to configure, how to use transcription in VoIP. And you didn't see much because there is no configuration required. You just make your calls however you were doing them before, and if you have your transcription enabled, meaning if you have your AI app installed, you have summaries here on the, can you see my cursor? Yes. You will have summaries appearing here on the list view, and you have full transcript appearing on the form view. Also, you might need to know that your call is actually transcribing, and for that reason we put this extra peel in here. Now, that's the functional thing. How does it work under the hood? VoIP architecture is prepared for scale, so it's prepared, it's thought to be simple as possible. There are basically three main steps. We buffer audio, we request transcriptions, and we present whatever results we gathered. If you want a little bit more details, let's focus on this view in here. When you start calling somebody, at this moment we start buffering audio. We gather both streams, the one incoming, that is your voice talking to the outgoing, so the voice that is coming from your laptop out, and the one incoming, so from your colleague, as you saw in our little showy experiment in the beginning. That was Dylan's voice coming into my computer. We merge those two, and we buffer them until you hang up. When you hang up, we upload the recording, so there's no real time in here. We take whole context, we take all the audio that you buffered, whole conversation, we feed that into AI models, we get full transcript at once, then we get full summary at once. And this is all possible thanks to this background worker that we created. So we upload recording, we ask background worker to do its job, and we can still use the feature, use our UI. Now, some of you might wonder what background worker in Odoo. Odoo is a inherently synchronous system without any asynchronous elements. For that reason, so how and why and how did you achieve this kind of asynchronous behavior? We use crons for that, but first let me explain why we did that. When we processing audio can take time. We introduced a couple of metrics to figure out how much time do we need to process certain amounts of audio, and here very rough results. It came to my attention that most of the calls that we are taking are around 3-4 minutes. This is the call range that we are targeting mostly, and where it should be okay to block UI for 7 seconds, because that's how much time do we need to process them. It's a terrible design. I would not personally use a website when I have to wait 7 seconds just to use any element on the website I want, and just because I enabled some transcription. So yeah, we won't be doing it this way. This is why we're using cron. This is why we use cron as our async worker. So here you have some pseudocode of the upload route. It's a very simple, very pretty design. You just upload recording as an attachment with a little bit extra step at the end. You can see here there's some input checking. If you're not trying to do some crazy stuff, then you create an attachment, and then you trigger a cron. You trigger this background worker that will do all the API calls, talk with OpenAI, and get back to you. But you don't wait for it. You just ask your cron, hey, can you process the most recent audio for me? And that's it. And you go back. And this is how we make UI responsive quick. Introducing background workers and having process that is kind of lengthy in the temporal domain pose this issue that we have to somehow know which call to process, which is already processed, which is in processing, and well, that's a very simple problem to have and very simple solution. So let me go quickly over the statuses that we can have over the span of this pipeline. So when you start your phone call, you by default get your call in the no audio transcription status. Then, when you upload your audio to Odoo, it will only catch audios that are without audio. I'm sorry. When you upload your audio, we switch from no audio, because we got some audio, into a pending state. And from this pending state, cron is able to figure out that this is something that he should focus on, and he should process those. We can also get some errors. We can have no audio, somehow audio wasn't uploaded, then well, we can't transcribe call when we don't have any voice available. Also, you see this too long to process. And you might ask, okay, so if I go over those 4 minutes, I will have no transcription? No, it's just, well, there is a certain limit. We made sure that you can transcribe hour-long conversations with current limits. However, if you open your if you call somebody all day long, you probably reach those limits, and for that we have an extra status. Then, background worker picks up call in the pending state, switches the state to queued, and this way it will notify other background workers that right now are not there, but user can possibly create an extra cron that is also tasked with processing. This way, when first cron is picking up some job, it switches its state and locks all the other crons from trying to process the same call. So we are preventing some race conditions, which we do not expect at the moment. It's just some defensive programming. And finally, all the background worker is doing all the calls, is asking OpenAI to transcribe the audio, it's getting the transcription. If it gets the transcription, it asks for summary. And it can also run into some errors. OpenAI can become unavailable, and then unfortunately we cannot do anything about it unless we start running our own models. And that brings us to the topic of our features are very young. We started our team like 4 months ago.
Yeah, in January.
Yes. So all the features are very young, and we are expecting from you some kind of feedback, preferably a lot of feedback, so we know where to focus. One of the concerns that is appearing constantly is privacy. So tell us if you would like us to run our models on-premise. Do not send any call data to OpenAI. Do not send any call data to Google. Or maybe you would like some options to have your own voice models. Maybe a little bit about UI, and then I'll...
about the voice transcription, as I said, with the current version of the transcription, you have a less reactive feedback of the UI, and so it would mainly be like some UI improvement to make the thing more snappy, more reactive, and also improve the quality of the transcription, because it can also happen, since AI models are not perfect, that you would have some snippets of transcription that are not really accurate with what you have said, and so we also would like to improve in the quality of these. And maybe in the future, which is maybe not related to transcription directly, but maybe the introduction of voice command would be something that we thought of as well for these kind of features. But it's still, we still have to know what people would be interested in, and so it's important for us to have feedbacks about those if you have features that you would like. So
voice commands can be especially interesting if you attended the previous talk about NLP, about Ask AI. Imagine that instead of typing the whole command, hey, show me my top employees, you just press and hold some button responsible for voice typing, and there you go, in 3 seconds. Very lazy type of operation, huh?
Yeah.
Some more quirks, some more improvements related to VoIP, and also discuss. We can also, let me quickly tease you what's on the table. We could do something called semantic search. Imagine that you have a lot of calls. With current implementation of Odoo, it's very difficult to search through millions of rows of text. And above that, it's difficult to find something because you need to type exactly the phrase that you put in there. Then what I'm proposing in here, what we could do is we could introduce semantic search. We already have tools for that with birth of AI module. We already have tools to introduce semantic search, where you would roughly describe what you want to find, like here, latest sales functionality should find viewing new sales feature in the sales funnel. It's not a direct match, it's not a keyword search. It's roughly grabs the concept, the idea, the semantic meaning of your query, and finds all the calls that are similar. That's something on the table. Another thing that we could introduce is call analysis that is already present in the industry, and what is specifically interesting to me is something called moments. So you all probably heard of sentiment analysis, right? So we can tell you, okay, you have 5 calls that are positive, 5 that are meh, and 2 that are negative. That is, in my opinion, not very interesting information. Much rather, would you probably like to know which parts of the conversation answer certain question. And this is where moments come into play, because we can have AI scan the whole transcript and then highlight all the parts that answer your question negatively and answer your question in a positive way. Then you can count those, and you can have more snappy feeling of more realistic feeling of what the call represents. was it something that you have to focus about? That's something that we can introduce very quickly. Let us know if that's something interesting to you. And yeah, last thing is the Discuss integration. I don't know how many people here use Discuss. There are some Discuss users, that's good to know. Yeah, let me know if you would also like to see transcriptions in there. Depending on the feedback that we get from you, we will put our focus accordingly. And I guess it's a time for questions. We have a lot of time for questions, so we are all yours. You can open that up. You have our slides in there. Do we have somebody? All right.
So thank you, Dylan, thank you, Andre, for this great talk. So let's go to the Q&A session. So you can ask your question through the QR code, and I will ask the first question then. So the first one is Swiss German supported by the real time?
Like any language that you can enable on your Odoo database is supported by the transcription. But transcription snippet, yes. So if it's available, yes, it is.
I don't know
available.
specific. Yeah, Swiss German is a little bit specific language.
Maybe.
But if Whisper, if OpenAI supports it, we support it.
Yeah.
We don't have specific models to handle them.
Okay, thank you very much. So the second question is, in case of offline meetings, is it possible to upload MP3 file instead of real-time transcription?
Currently, no. Not with the transcription snippet. You cannot upload MP3 file.
Okay, thank you very much. The third question is, will Odoo get all functionalities founded in Ringover?
I couldn't hear you, sorry. Could you speak
So the third question is, will Odoo get all the functionalities founded in Ringover?
I'm not familiar with that feature. What features can they move the question to the bottom and specify exact features?
Okay. I'll go to the next question. So, is it possible in collaboration modes to identify person that speak and add name beside the transcription text?
Currently, no, and it's also a limitation of like maybe the vibe calls is that the models that are used for the transcription are not meant to identify people that are speaking as we are using them, and so no, it's not really something right now here.
However, it's something that we can bring to VoIP calls a little bit faster if you want that, because we have two streams of audio. So it's easy in VoIP calls. It's easier in VoIP calls than in the live dictation.
Because here, in the live dictation, basically how it works is that it's meant to have like one microphone recording and it's picking up every sound. And so in your meeting, you won't really be able to identify people with that, at least not easily.
Well, that's a good question. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, yes. So let's go to the next question. Will the transcription work with multiple languages switch within the text?
Like if you want to switch, while recording, you cannot, because the session has to be created with a specific language. So you would have to stop the recording, start again, record in another language. So it might be a limitation here. However, even if your language, you selected another language, but you start to speak, for example, if you selected English and you start speaking in French, for example, the model will still pick up what you're saying, and most of the time it will either do a proper transcription or it will translate the transcription in the language that is set up. So it could work.
We did a couple of tests also in VoIP, for example, whereas you have whole context of the whole conversation at once. There is no language setup. The model will figure out the language, and according to the tests we perform, it handles all the languages that we are speaking in our team.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So the next question is, how long will the audio recordings be stored?
That is something also that we really want to get your feedback on, because retention policy, I know that's something that you would like to probably have options to set, and we plan to just add it in settings, just a simple selector, so you can select that time yourself. And yeah, that's it. That's something also we need to get your feedback on. Currently they are stored indefinitely.
Okay, so the next question is, does it work with AirCall?
Does it work with what?
Does it work with AirCall? So I guess it's a very popular provider.
I guess they are talking about one of the providers, and it's that's a nice thing about current architecture of transcriptions. It is provider agnostic. Why? Because we are not using provider to record. The whole recording happens on your side in browser. However, that might not be long-term solution because we would like to have perhaps some kind of robustness. So we might switch to our own provider within Odoo. That's probably for the next year. At the moment, it's agnostic provider.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question is it possible to remove the recordings directly after the call? Manually?
A little bit hackish solution, but it exists. You can just open your attachments because recording is just an attachment. So you just open your attachments and settings. I believe you need developer mode for that. I'm not sure. And you just delete it from there. However, you should expect that we soon, having those questions, we might just delete it by default after it's processed.
Okay. So the next question, maybe you answered it already, but I'll ask it. Can the call transcript show person 1, person 2, person 3?
Yes, it's definitely on the table. If you only want it, we can prioritize that and do it quite quickly.
Okay, I think it's all for the question. So Dylan, Andre, thank you very much, and we can give them a round of applause. Thank you.